Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another Missouri Welding Institute Monday. You know, the Alabama rig bite's really starting to heat up here in the Ozarks. We're finally getting that cooler water temperature that makes them really bite the thing. So I wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of the different do-it molds that I use to make my own jig heads. I've got 5 of them set in here. I use all 5 of them for different scenarios. So I want to give you guys a quick rundown and the advantages of each jig head and when you can use that to your benefit. So of course there's the do-it round ball jig head. Looks just like this. Nothing fancy to it at all. The only downside of this one is you might have to use super glue or something, but this jig head's been around for years. It works great. I still use them to this day. I can get a light wire and a heavy wire jig head hook in there. Of course, I like the lighter wire hook around, heavy trees, brush piles, things of that nature, so I can straighten the hook out and get my A-rig back. You don't have to lose all 5 baits in the rig itself. So I can also get a heavier wire hook in there if I'm just fishing complete open water or using braided line, things of that nature where I can get away with it. I'll always use that. The next one is the Do It Shake It jig mold. Here's what the mold looks like. This is probably one of the best ones overall to use just for ease of use. I've modified my mold a little bit where I can fit in, a heavier flipping style hook like that, which is fine, but just a regular light wire hook such as this one right here is great. Now this mold is advantageous because it's got more lead going down the shank, so that'll really grip any kind of swim bait really well. You don't have to use glue as much. So there's just something about that lead making contact with a plastic bait that'll really hold it on there really good as it is. So if there was one mold to get, it'd probably be just the Do It Shake It mold. It comes in 1/16 through 3/8 ounce sizes, so you can cover the whole spectrum with that. Now, there are a couple molds I've modified a little bit that I really like to use a lot of the time. I've modified them so I can use a heavier hook, and I've also modified them to use a coil lock for your, big bite pro swimmers, things of that nature. Really holds them on there really well. The first one is the Do It Worm Nose jig. And here's what it looks like. Just kind of a blunt nose lead ball head on there with a coil lock. This actually already comes drilled out for the coil. So the only modification you have to make is making the hook eye large enough to take a bigger hook like that. That's a 60-degree hook. It's a heavier hook. And I use this one a lot of times. I've got it modified where I can use a 1/16, 8, 3/16, a quarter. And really like that one. A lot of times I'll use that for like my big bite suicide shads that already have eyeballs on them, just to get that extra detail like that. That jig head's perfectly acceptable. One of my favorites is a poison swingtail mold that I've heavily modified. And I'll use this one in the 1/8 and 1/4 ounce sizes. By the time you lose some of the existing bait holder on that bait to add the coil lock on it, it'll really kind of lighten it up where it probably weighs more of a 1/16. So in all actuality, I've got a 1/16, 1/8, and a 1/4 that I'll use. And here's what it looks like. I've got it modified where I can use a coil lock. I still got that realistic looking head, and I can put eyeballs on it. So if you're going to use like a big bite pro swimmer that doesn't have eyeballs already on the bait, a lot of times if you're a live skip with an A-rig, you can see fish swim right up to your bait, look at it kind of with their side eye or whatever. And I feel just having, especially for your hooked baits, here in Missouri we can only use 3 baits. So whenever you got 3 on the bottom with eyeballs, I feel like it really gives you a lot better chance of catching those fish on that instead of them hitting your dummies or whatever. So just another good reason to hit it, just a little added detail I like. So that's the poison swingtail with a coil lock. One that I used to use a lot, I still do a little bit, especially around super heavy cover. If I was ever in a situation with grass or something, just a weighted hook jig mold. It's just a belly weight. I haven't added the coil lock on that one just yet, but I will if I ever use them again. And like I said, just a belly weighted hook. The only downside to that one is the fish slaps that, they're not going to get as hooked as easily as an open hook. Sometimes you catch the fish just outside of the mouth. They hit the bait funny or whatever on an off day or whatever. So probably not a good one for that situation. But there are still certain applications I will use a belly hook. So those are the 5 molds I really like to use. Like I said, any of them will work at any given time. I do use certain ones for different applications. So that's what works for me, and I hope it'll work for you guys. Now, this is the last MWI Monday of the year. So I want to thank you guys for checking them out so far. Hope everyone has a happy new year. January 30th and 31st, MWI is holding their high school welding competition. So if that's of interest to you, go over to MissouriWeldingInstitute.com and check it out. I'll be there, so I hope to see you all there. Hope everyone has a happy new year, and we'll see you next year. Thanks for tuning in.